Most people stay average because average feels normal. That's the real problem. Nobody wakes up and says, I want a small life. I want average results. I want to be forgettable. It doesn't happen like that. It happens when you keep doing just enough to feel like you're trying, but never enough to actually change anything. I'm John, and I know that feeling way too well. Fake work feels like real work. There have been days where I told myself I was going to work on my channel, but if I'm honest, I wasn't really working. I was just moving things around, changing a title again, listening back to the same voiceover, thinking way too hard about whether one line sounded better than another, making myself feel productive without doing the one thing that actually mattered, posting the video and letting it live or die. That's average. Not because making a video is average, but because hiding inside fake work is. Same thing with day trading. People love the idea of day trading. They love the screens, the charts, the dopamine, the thought of being the person who makes money from a laptop. But the reality is way less exciting. Most of it is waiting. Most of it is doing nothing. Most of it is not touching bad setups just because you're bored. And a lot of people can't handle that. They want the results, but not the boring behavior that produces them. That's average, too. What average really looks like. Average is not always laziness. A lot of the time, it's impatience, it's ego, it's wanting progress without looking bad at first. That's why talented people stay average all the time. People think average means untalented, but that's not true at all. Some of the most average people are actually capable of a lot. They just never stick with anything long enough for the ability to become real. They get excited really fast, then disappear just as fast. They start new things, but they don't stay. They want proof too early. They want to feel exceptional before doing anything exceptional, and that's what kills them. Because being average doesn't come from one giant bad decision. It comes from 100 small ones that all feel reasonable in the moment. You skip one day because you're tired, you put something off because you want to do it properly tomorrow, you decide not to post yet because it isn't ready, you stop after one bad week because you're not feeling it anymore. Each one sounds harmless, but stack enough of them together and now you've built yourself an average life without even noticing. That's what I think most people miss. Average is not just about results, it's a way of moving. It's saying you want more, but still moving like someone who doesn't. It's having ambition in your head, but very average habits in real life. The misery of the middle. That gap is what makes people miserable, because deep down, most people know when they're underperforming. They know when they're being soft with themselves. They know when they're calling weak effort trying. That's why average feels so frustrating, not because it's terrible, but because it's close enough to feel acceptable, yet not good enough to make you feel proud. You're not fully failing, so you don't panic, but you're not really building anything either, so nothing changes. That middle zone is where people waste years. Soon becomes your personality. I've seen it in my own school. There are people who are smart enough to do well, smart enough to learn fast, smart enough to build something online, but all their energy goes into the safe zone of life. Do the assignment, get through the week, watch some videos, say you're going to do something bigger soon, then repeat. After a while, soon becomes your personality. You become someone who always has plans, but never momentum. I think momentum is the part nobody respects enough, because once you actually start moving, actually posting, actually learning, actually taking good trades, actually building something, the whole thing stops being imaginary. Now it's real. Now you have reps. Now you have something to prove. But average people never stay in the game long enough to get reps. That's why they keep starting over. New plan, new mindset, new week, new reset. Same person, because nothing underneath changed.
Now, I'm not saying this from some high horse. I know exactly how easy it is to slip into that, especially when you're doing something where progress isn't guaranteed. It's way easier to tweak, think, delay, and prepare than to actually put yourself in a position where you can be judged. But that's exactly why most people stay average. They protect themselves too much. They protect themselves from embarrassment, from bad results, from looking like a beginner. And by doing that, they also protect themselves from growth. That's the trade. You can protect your ego or you can build something. Usually not both. Average asks less from you. That's why average is so common. It lets you stay comfortable. It lets you talk a good game. It lets you feel like you still have potential without forcing you to prove any of it. Because reality says your actions are your standards. So if your life feels average right now, the question is not whether you're talented enough to do more. The real question is whether the way you're living is actually different from everybody else. Are you more disciplined than everybody else? More patient? More consistent? More willing to look stupid for a while? If the answer is no, then why would your life become anything other than average? The uncomfortable truth. Most people stay average because it's hidden inside normal behavior, normal effort, normal excuses, normal inconsistency, normal distractions. And normal is dangerous when you secretly want an abnormal life. You don't have to stay there, but wanting to leave isn't enough. You have to move differently. You have to stop protecting your ego long enough to actually build something. You have to be okay with being bad at first. You have to be okay with the boring middle. Because average is what happens when you want the result but refuse the process.